Hey everybody, picked up a new activity tracker. This is the Fitbit Charge HR. This is the heart rate plus activity wristband. Previously I had been wearing a Fitbit Force and kind of been waiting to see what they were going to come out with next, because they pretty much have a voluntary lifelong recall on these. Mine had kind of started to do weird things where the battery said it was dying when it was fully charged, and sometimes it wasn't calculating steps when it should have been. So I ended up going ahead and placing the recall for this, and pretty much I'm going to purchase this with the refund check. As far as simple dimensions go, this guy's about 827 thousandths wide. It's about 430 thousandths thick at its widest or thickest part with the optical sensor there. Its total weight is only 0.91 ounces. It's really light. Whereas the Force, that guy, was 794 thousandths wide, so it's a little thinner, and 395 thousandths at its thickest point, but it weighed 1.19 ounces, so almost 1.2 ounces. I mean, that's not a whole lot of weight. They still give you the little wireless dongle and charging port. Big difference. Here is the Charge HR charging cable. Here is the Force. You can tell they changed the charge port a little bit. It's the underside of the Force there. You can see the interface there. Now onto the charge. They went with a traditional watch style band on this, so you don't lose it. I never really had too much problems with my Force getting knocked off. I mean, if you put your arm through a tight spot or something, I would knock it off, but I played basketball with it, and my friend's jawbone was getting knocked off all the time, whereas I never lost my Force. So this is definitely an improvement for security. They are using a completely different material on this one. It's more like silicone. It's got a little texture to it. I saw one review that says that it doesn't collect dust or anything at all, but I don't know if you can see on mine, but there's some dust particles, and it seems to collect hair and dead skin particles, whereas my Force, I think maybe, I don't know if it's because it's older and used, but it was really smooth and it didn't collect anything but dirt or grease from rubbing up against the car. Everything else on this I'm fairly impressed with. Everything seems to be decently well made. My major complaints for quality wise is if you run your finger over the LCD display, there's sharp corners on each end, and this little button and assembly is now plastic, and it doesn't feel as good as quality as the Force, where this is nice and smooth on all the sides, and it's got a metal button here. It's a lot. I think this one seems to be that it feels like it's better quality than this one, but that just could be me. Give you a shot of the underside here. That's the optical sensor there with the little LEDs flashing, trying to pick up your heart rate. As far as the display goes, it's pretty much just like the Charge or the Force, where you've got your time that you can change the displays on now. You've got your steps counted for the day. Now you've got your heart rate now, your miles accumulated, calories burned, stairs climbed, and any alarms that you have. So I've had my Charge HR for about 1 month since recording the first part of this video. This has given me a good time to run through some just general assessments of activities that I do to test how accurate the heart rate monitoring is, because I know from previous experience the actual step tracking is pretty accurate. Battery life on mine is like 5 days and nothing. It might even be 4 days and like 23 hours, but 5 days max on this is about what I've gotten out of it. I have to remember to charge it every 5 days. I was getting 7+ days out of the Force, maybe even 10 to 12, depending on what I was doing with it. As far as the material. It definitely does attract dust and lint and dried lotion, and I don't use a whole lot of moisturizing lotion, but you can see some like stuff here and just some discoloration and stuff, so it definitely attracts crap. The sharp corners I noticed do catch on some of my shirts and or coats or something. I'll put one on and it, you know, kind of snags it a little bit. I mean, it doesn't come off because of the attachment, but it's still kind of annoying. As far as the heart rate goes, or as far as the heart rate monitoring goes, what does it do well on? Pretty much any activity that your arm is not doing any extreme movements on. Can it handle running? As you can see in that clip, that was just a quick clip of me finishing a run, but I've had really good luck with it running. Only when my shirt would get pushed under here because it's cold outside that I might find that the heart rate sensor would stop working. I probably could put it one notch tighter, but so far it's pretty good. I've noticed best accuracy overall with any activities, keeping the monitor 2 to 3 fingers above the wrist right there. I typically wear it about there most of the day. Does it handle weightlifting? Yes, no. I've found at times it really would read low after finishing a set like you saw in the video, but then 20 to 30 seconds after it would pick up an elevated heart rate that was almost spot on with my manual, you know, 2-finger neck check. How about swimming? No, the Charge HR is not waterproof. Don't go swimming with it. They also recommend you taking it off in showers, and I pretty much take mine off in the shower. How about basketball? Yep, I found it works great with basketball. It doesn't get knocked off and does a good job at recording your heart rate throughout your entire game. How about CrossFit? Again, this is a yes/no. Any WOD that I've used wrist wraps for pretty much negates the use of using this, because I've tried it like really high on my wrist up here where I had just like the first notch on here, and it's really hard to read way up here. Obviously, you know, you've got thinner skin down here and your veins are down here, so I don't really use it for CrossFit. I've used it for some other activities like circuit training, and as long as it's not loose fitting, you pretty much get a good reading out of it anytime you're looking. This is my first heart rate tracking monitor, so I really have nothing else to compare it to. But I remember reading initially, you know, a year and a half ago when I was looking into getting an activity tracker and getting something with heart rate capabilities, that pretty much any of the wrist-worn devices were only accurate if you came to a complete stop and then checked it then. They weren't good with on-the-go stuff. The Fitbit Charge HR for the most activities doesn't have that problem. Their app has been updated to include your current heart rate. You can get a heart rate breakdown. Let's say a workout. This is basketball that I did today. You've got your fat burn, your cardio, and your peak heart rate there. This is just a lunchtime session. So it includes that now and gives you a resting heart rate, and gives you like an average over 30 days of what your heart rate's been doing. I do kind of wish the audio cues during running would tell you what your heart rate is, so you didn't have to come down and press the button, but I'm sure that's something that if they get enough requests they can easily add to the application. One thing that I forgot to mention probably in the beginning of the video is connectivity to your smartphone. It does use Bluetooth, so you have to have that enabled. if you have an iPhone 4S or newer, you can turn on the call notification. They actually enable that firmware update on the Force, and the Charge and the Charge HR also have that function. You have to pair your device and then you can get call notifications. No text, just call. On my iPhone, I've found it spotty to be best. The app has no trouble turning on the Bluetooth and syncing your device. I read some of the troubleshooting how to get the call notification to work all the time. They said turn off the all-day sync, turn that off. Still didn't seem to make a difference. It seems when the iPhone Bluetooth goes in like power save mode or whatever and it comes back on, sometimes you have to power cycle it on and off again, and then the call notifications will work for a couple of times, and then they'll stop working again, and then randomly they'll work again, and randomly they'll start working again for a couple of calls and stop again and so forth. And I've done all the troubleshooting, so I pretty much don't really rely on that feature. It'd be a nice feature that if it worked every time, it'd be a lot better. I know the Surge, the upsell model with the bigger screen, has text and call notifications. I'm curious how well that works too. Overall, since I've been using it, I like it. It does everything I wanted to do in the size package I wanted. I wish the battery life was better, but understand that since the HR monitor is constantly running, that you're not going to have the greatest battery life in this small of a package. The plastic screen has gotten scratched up from use. I don't know if you can see in the camera there, but it's got quite a few light scratching in it. But this is an activity tracker and not like a high-dollar wristwatch that needs to remain pristine. Would I recommend this to friends? Definitely. I like the addition of the heart rate monitoring so I can see if maybe one day I wasn't working as hard as I should be, or perhaps I was working myself too hard based on, ideal heart rates. I've seen them in stores on sale recently, so definitely check them out if you're interested in an activity tracker. Thanks for watching.